I want you to picture a specific moment. Maybe you're staring at a project on your laptop that, I don't know, hasn't moved forward in 3 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Or maybe you're looking at a relationship that just feels like it's hit a wall. Or honestly, maybe you're just looking in the mirror and feeling empty.
That hollow feeling.
Yeah.
Yeah. Like the battery isn't just low, it's
Mhm.
it's missing.
Exactly. It's that moment where you look at whatever it is, your career, your creativity, your motivation, and you just think, that's it. Stick a fork in it. It's dead.
It's such a universal experience. I think every single person listening has had that moment where they feel completely tapped out and, the only logical conclusion their brain offers is, this is the end.
It feels final. It feels so absolute. And that is exactly where we are starting today.
Mm-hmm.
We are doing a deep dive into a really fascinating and honestly surprisingly emotional talk from Web Talk Radio. It tackles this specific feeling of the end, but it uses a metaphor that caught me completely off guard.
Talk about the lawn.
I am talking at the lawn. Specifically, a patch of brown, crispy, ugly grass that everyone says is a lost cause.
It sounds so mundane on the surface, doesn't it? Just,
Huh?
gardening problems.
Right.
But the source material we're looking at today uses that dead lawn to explore a profoundly important psychological distinction, maybe the most important distinction for anyone going through burnout.
And what's that?
The difference between something being dead and something being dormant.
That is our mission for this deep dive. We are going to unpack how to tell the difference between the actual end of something and a necessary pause for survival. Because as our speaker finds out, sometimes the experts, and in this story we're talking about literal lawn care professionals, get it totally wrong.
And getting it wrong has huge consequences. I mean, if you treat something as dead when it's actually just dormant, you might throw away something that was just about to bloom.
Wow.
This touches on some critical concepts in psychology and resilience. We so often misinterpret a lack of visible activity as failure, but nature tells a completely different story.
So let's get into the dirt then. The source starts by describing a situation we can all relate to: stress. But not just, I have a deadline stress.
No, this is bigger.
Yeah, we're talking about transition awareness breathing and growing through pain. The speaker describes how, when we get overwhelmed, we go dormant. How does the source actually define that state?
So that's really the key starting point. In this context, dormancy.
Yeah.
It isn't just sleeping or being lazy.
Right.
The source defines it as a biological survival mechanism. When the environment gets too hostile, too much heat, too much pressure, an organism cuts out everything non-essential.
So it's like an efficiency protocol. It's the body saying, we don't have the budget for this right now.
Exactly. The speaker mentions specific symptoms like stopping creative pursuits. You used to paint or write songs or volunteer at the community center, and now you stop.
You retreat.
You retreat. You do the bare minimum just to get through the day.
I think that's such an important distinction because usually when we stop doing those things, the narrative in our head is just brutal. We think, I'm losing my drive, or I'm lazy, or I've lost my spark. But the source is framing this completely differently. It's saying, no, you are conserving energy to protect your core.
Right. Think about the biology of a plant. If there's a massive drought, or emotional heat, as the source calls it, the plant pulls all its resources down into the roots.
Okay.
The leaves turn brown because the plant literally can't afford to keep them green. To the outside world, looking at the surface, you look finished. But inside, down in the soil, the plant is actually working very hard just to stay alive.
Which brings us to the antagonist of our story,
Yeah.
the villain, if you will.
Ah, yes.
The true green lawn guy.
The voice of external judgment.
So paint the picture here. The speaker has this lawn that looks terrible because of the extreme heat and some personal turmoil she was going through. It's brown, it's crunchy.
We can all picture it.
Totally. And she calls in the professionals. The true green guy comes out, plus a representative from the homeowners association. And anyone who's lived in a neighborhood with an HOA knows they can be terrifying in these situations.
Oh, absolutely. They represent that societal pressure to conform, to look perfect, to perform.
Exactly. So they both take one look at this crispy brown patch and deliver the verdict. It's dead. It's not coming back. You need to tear it up.
And this is a pivotal moment in the narrative. Because think about how often this happens in our actual lives outside of gardening.
All the time.
You're in a period of dormancy. Maybe you're recovering from grief or a massive career failure or just prolonged stress. And an expert, a boss, even a well-meaning family member looks at your lack of output and says, you've lost your touch, it's over.
It is devastating, and the problem is it's so easy to believe them. Because look at the evidence. The grass is brown. I haven't written a song in 6 months. The sales numbers are down. They must be right.
But the speaker points out something very wise here. She says, not everyone knows everything about how this works. Even experts can be wrong about your internal capacity for recovery because they're judging by surface-level metrics.
They see the brown leaves.
They see the brown leaves. They don't have access to the root system.
That's a really empowering thought. Just because someone has a clipboard and a logo on their shirt doesn't mean they know what's happening in your soil.
Not at all.
So the speaker is standing there being told it's hopeless, but she has this intuition. She feels like the grass isn't dead, it's just waiting.
And that intuition is what we need to cultivate.
Mm-hmm.
But it raises the difficult question, right? If we are dormant and not dead, how do we actually wake up? You can't just stand on the porch and yell at the grass to grow.
Grow better.
Yeah.
Yeah, that usually doesn't work. The source gets really practical here, which I appreciated. It wasn't just, hope for the best.
Mm-hmm.
The first step isn't some massive overhaul. It's just paying attention to what has gone dormant.
Awareness is the precursor to change. You can't fix the system you don't understand or, frankly, won't look at. The source uses the phrase watering your awareness. I think that's a beautiful image.
It is.
You aren't forcing growth yet. You're just hydrating the possibility of it.
And the tool for this watering, it's the breath. The speaker talks about using the breath as an anchor. Now, we hear about breathing a lot in the wellness space. It can almost feel cliche. Why is it so central here?
Well, it goes back to that concept of emotional heat. When you are in a crisis, your nervous system is likely in a sympathetic state, fight or flight. You are literally running hot.
Right.
Your cortisol is up, your heart rate is up. You cannot accurately assess whether a project is dead or dormant when you are physically panicking.
Your brain is just screaming, emergency, evacuate.
Correct. The breath stabilizes the temperature. It cools down the heat. It signals to the body that you are safe enough to stop burning resources and start assessing the situation. It's the difference between reacting to the brown grass in despair and responding to it with strategy.
There's also a point the source makes about verbalization. It says we need to put it out. We need to speak about the feelings.
The pressure cooker effect. If you seal up a dormant stress system and add heat, it explodes. The source lists some pretty relatable bad outcomes if you don't verbalize. Overeating, overdrinking, over-emotional explosions.
The I'm fine strategy usually ends with someone screaming over a spilled cup of coffee or eating an entire cake.
Exactly. If you don't vent the steam, verbalize the stress, the internal pressure just damages the system. You can't come out of dormancy if you're actively destroying yourself with toxic coping mechanisms. You have to clear the debris to make room for the water.
Okay, so we're breathing to cool down, we're verbalizing to release pressure. But here's where the deep dive took a turn that I really loved. The speaker shares a story not from a psychology lab, but from a kindergarten classroom.
The candle breathe story.
Yes. And honestly, I think these 5-year-olds have a better handle on mental health than most CEOs I know.
I think you're right. Walk us through it. It's a very touching moment in the talk.
So the speaker teaches this transition awareness breathing class, TAP, to kids, and a little kindergartner comes up to her and confesses, "Miss Arthur, yesterday I had a bad day and I forgot to candle breathe."
Wow. That admission alone is significant. Admitting failure or a lapse in discipline is incredibly hard. We usually want to hide our bad days.
Right. We'd usually just pretend everything was perfect, but she admits it. But then another student, a TAP friend, pipes up immediately. And this is the key. The friend says, "That's okay, just try again."
It sounds so simple. That's okay, just try again. But if we pause and really connect this to the bigger picture of adult psychology, that is a profound intervention. It's almost revolutionary.
How so? I mean, it feels almost too simple to be revolutionary.
Because as adults, we are obsessed with judgment. Think about it. If we fail at our wellness routine, if we forget to breathe or lose our cool or spend a day doing absolutely nothing, we spiral into shame.
Oh, completely.
We say, see, I can't do this. I'm broken. I'm undisciplined. It's hopeless.
We judge the brown grass. We beat ourselves up for being dormant.
Precisely. We judge the dormancy, which ironically creates more stress, which keeps us dormant longer. But the child's response, it just removes the judgment completely.
Yeah.
It frames the failure not as a character flaw, but as a momentary lapse.
Yeah.
The source emphasizes that we have to release judgment of the time we spent being dormant.
There was a quote that stuck out to me. You cannot shame yourself into growth.
That's it. That's the core truth. Shame induces a stress response. Biologically, you're adding more heat to the drought. So shaving yourself for being burnt out is like pouring salt on the roots you're trying to save. The spirit of trying again, that gentle permission,
Yeah.
is the water.
So we've got the internal work, breathing, releasing judgment, listening to the kindergartner in our head. But we still have a problem. We still have the true green guy standing on the lawn shaking his head.
The external noise.
We still have the external noise telling us we're finished.
And dealing with critics is a huge part of recovery. And the source offers a really empathetic, almost surprising take on this.
I fully expected the advice to be ignore the haters or prove them wrong, you know. But it was much more nuanced than that.
The speaker suggests that the critics, the negative people, the experts predicting doom, may be stressed too. Their negativity might just be a reaction to their own internal heat.
That is very charitable. Maybe more charitable than I would be to a guy telling me to tear up my lawn.
It is charitable, but it's also strategic. It's a defense mechanism for you, not for them. If you realize the critic is just projecting their own stress or their own fear of failure, you don't have to take their words as absolute truth. It neutralizes their power.
So you can look at the lawn guy and think he's stressed about the heat too, rather than he is the supreme judge of my worth.
Exactly. It detaches their opinion from your identity. It helps you stay focused on your own garden. And speaking of focusing, the source gives us a definition of chaos that I think acts as a really good checkpoint for anyone listening who feels stuck.
Yes. Chaos is when we keep doing the same thing and we expect change.
It's a variation of the classic definition of insanity, right? But applied to recovery, it's very revealing.
How do you mean?
If you are tending to your garden, your life, your project, and you see absolutely no change, the source suggests that is an indicator. You need to reevaluate how you are working through the situation.
Wait, I want to push back on that for a second. Isn't that contradictory? I thought we were supposed to ignore the lawn guy who says nothing is happening. If I look at my lawn and nothing is happening, shouldn't I just trust the process?
It's a delicate balance, and I'm glad you caught that because it's easy to misunderstand. The distinction is between giving up because it looks dead and adjusting your strategy because the current care isn't working.
Okay.
The speaker didn't just stare at the grass and worry. She watered her awareness. She shifted her internal state.
Okay, I see. So if you're just worrying, that's doing the same thing. That's chaos.
Right. Worrying is active chaos. Breathing, releasing judgment, shifting your perspective, that is a new strategy. That is active waiting.
And it worked. This is the payoff. The speaker describes the scene after some time has passed. There were low gray clouds, which usually sounds gloomy, but in a drought, that is the best sight in the world.
It meant rain. It meant relief. And the specifics of what grew back are really important here. It wasn't just the grass.
The basil bush started flowering. The little lemon bush grew healthy leaves.
It validates the internal intuition. But there is a twist in the result that I think is the most significant part of this deep dive. If you take one thing away from our talk today, it should be this concept.
That's that.
The grass didn't just go back to being the grass it was before the drought. The source is very clear. It's not the same growth. It's new growth.
It's not a reset button.
No. And this is where so many of us get stuck. We want to get back to normal. We want to be who we were before the burnout or before the divorce or before the failure. We want to reverse time. But the source argues that the creativity and growth that return are fundamentally different because of what they survived.
It's not gone to waste. It has made you better. That's the quote.
Think about the biology of it. A plant that survives a drought often develops a deeper root system because it had to search harder for water. When the rain finally comes, it is structurally different than a plant that never struggled.
So the lemon bush isn't just a bush anymore, it's a survivor.
Exactly. The dormant phase wasn't lost time. It was gathering time. It was resource accumulation. You were building depth while everyone else thought you were dying.
That reframes the whole experience of burnout. It stops being a gap in your resume and starts being R&D, research and development.
That's a great way to put it. But we have to touch on the timeline. Because the speaker warns us about patience. Even when the leaves come up and say, "Hi, we're alive," it's not an overnight fix.
Right, you don't wake up one morning and suddenly everything is perfect.
No. The yard doesn't transform instantly into a lush paradise. It takes time. And this is where the source invites us into a reflection. It's a call to acknowledge the process. The affirmation used is, "I see you, and we're going to grow again. This is going to be a better yard."
I see you. That's talking to the dormant parts of yourself. It's so gentle compared to how we usually talk to ourselves. Usually we're just screaming at ourselves.
It is. And the goal of that reflection, using the imagery of water and rain, is not giving in. The source makes a fascinating distinction here. We aren't giving in to the death of the project. We are breathing out.
Giving in versus breathing out. Can we unpack that?
Living in is quitting.
All right.
It's accepting the true green guy's diagnosis. It's saying, I am done. Breathing out is releasing the tension so you can prepare for the next inhale. You are recharging so you can strategize.
You know, hearing all this, it makes me look at my own brown patches a little differently. I think we're so conditioned in this hustle culture to say productivity is the only sign of life.
Oh, for sure.
If we aren't flowering, we assume we're dying.
We live in a true green society. We want the lawn to look perfect 365 days a year. But nature has seasons, cycles.
Yeah.
Dormancy is a biological necessity, not a moral failure.
Right.
You cannot have a harvest without a winter.
And if we listen to the source, that dormancy, that winter, is actually where the upgrade happens.
That's the key. The source ends with a really powerful, almost grand thought. The speaker suggests that the strength gathered from stress will change the world.
That's a massive statement for a talk that started with lawn care.
It is, but follow the logic. If you can navigate through the heat, survive the dormancy, ignore the false experts, and emerge with new growth, you possess a resilience that the world desperately needs. You have empathy, you understand pain, you have the ability to say to someone else, that's okay, just try again.
You become the TA friend instead of the true green guy.
Exactly, and that ripple effect is how you change the world, one restored garden at a time.
So to recap our journey today, we started with a burnt-out lawn that everyone said was a goner. We learned that stress forces us into dormancy, which looks like death, but is actually protection.
We learned that we need to anchor ourselves with breath to cool down the emotional heat. And crucially, we have to stop judging ourselves for needing rest. We need to channel that inner kindergartner who knows that a bad day is just a bad day, not a bad life.
We learned to ignore the stressed-out critics, or at least empathize with them while ignoring their advice, and look for the new growth. And we accepted that the new growth will look different than what we had before, but it will be stronger and deeper.
And finally, we learned that this process takes time. You have to nurture the soil before you see the flowers. You cannot rush the season.
So here is the question we want to leave you with today. It's something to mull over while you're stuck in traffic or washing the dishes or maybe staring at your own metaphorical dead lawn.
If we accept the source's premise, that your current dormant phase isn't a failure, but a gathering of resources, what specifically is being strengthened in the silence?
Oh, that's good.
What if the new you, the one that will emerge when the rain finally comes, is actually required to handle the future in a way the old you never could? What if this pause is the prerequisite for your next great contribution?
A comforting and challenging thought. Don't paint the grass green, everyone. Just water the roots.
And remember to breathe.
Thanks for listening to this deep dive. Go water your awareness. We'll see you next time.